Hello and welcome to the Healthy Business Podcast. I'm joined by the wonderful Rebecca Barr today, who is also known as the Femalepreneur Coach. And I am genuinely super excited. I've known Rebecca for a little while now, and today we're going to be chatting about leveraging your time, your money, and your energy so that you can work smarter, not harder. So for all of you regular listeners, you will know that this is a subject close to my heart. So Rebecca, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I've been so excited for today's session because we are, like you said, we are just so aligned with our values for business. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here today.
Oh, you're so welcome. I even know we're going to have the most amazing conversation and people are just going to take so much gold from all that you can share. So, one of the questions that I always ask my guests on this podcast is what a healthy business means to you. And I'm really intrigued to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yay. So I think for me, a healthy business is essentially one that is thriving, but not just in the business sense. For me, it's about success in all areas. So it's, health, it's visibility, impact your soul. Like, are you still obsessed with your business? Are you still excited with your business? Are you still growing? Is it still thriving? It's that whole picture for me. I don't know if that was particularly succinct, but it's
Yeah,
kind of
no, it
like the
is,
whole
isn't it?
thing.
Yeah, I love it because I think it's what I love the most about it. And you have so much energy anyway, but the excitement of your business has to come through. I always talk about like the passion is the first bit of everything that you want to do. If you're not in love with your offers, if you're not in love with your business, then we shouldn't be doing them. Like as business owners, we get to choose how we run it. So we
Yeah.
need to have that sense check in with us as to what that feels and how that feels for us as well.
Yeah, I think there's never been such a time as now for that as well. Definitely. Don't know about you, Sarah, but I came into the online space probably about 5 years ago. So although I've been in business for around 9 years, I had physical in-person businesses. So with that comes a lot of parameters. There's only so much you can't have much fun with the barbershop. Like you can have fun, but equally, like there's elements that need to be done. In the online space, you probably felt the shift as well, where it was very much like if you're going to be a launch strategist, you talk about these three things and these three methods and these three processes, and that's it. If you're a business coach, you sell one-to-one, you sell a group coaching or a mastermind, and that's it done.
Yeah.
Like actually now it's celebrated and it's actually a better way to stand up online by doing something that's completely off the wall and innovative and completely exciting to you because people will be magnetized by that energy, but it really supports you in standing out online as well.
Definitely. And I think that's it, isn't it? Is that there's so much of oh, this is how you should do things. This is what you should be doing. This is your messaging that you should be putting out there. These are the ideal clients that you should be working with. But actually, if none of that is in alignment to you, then you start resenting it, you start not showing up, you start feeling drained by it, and you lose the reason that you started the business in the first place. So, yeah, I love that you get to create business however you want to. And that feels really exciting. And it is almost going back to how I was kind of talking about you right at the beginning of it's leveraging all of those things. Like what feels good for you? Where's that energy lying? Your time, like how do you want to work? You don't have to work. We're not in the space where we have to do 9 to 5 corporate, but also we're not in the space where 3 days a week makes you successful or half days makes you successful. Like there isn't a version of success other than the one that feels good for you. And I think that's so important to remember as well, especially when you're growing and scaling your business or looking for external support to help you with that. It's doing it in a way that feels good for you.
Yeah, that's what feels very aligned to me in terms of values. It's about the sustainability.
Mm.
I've seen a lot of incredible women come and go over the years in the online space because they built a business that just wasn't in alignment with them and their energy type. So that's obviously how I work with my clients. I'm super spiritual, by the way. If I suddenly veer into like rabbit holes of spirit guides and tarot cards, let me know. But I think I've realized in business, it's the woman behind the business that really creates that success. The best sales page in the world will not convert somebody if it is just not a true expression of you and what you're obsessed with. Like people buy from people, and I think we'd forgotten that, like I was a person that was like, but I'm trying to emulate success. My mentor's telling me it's this, my
Yeah.
online is telling me it's that, and actually it's about connecting with yourself, like what feels good, like you say, to have that sustainability. That to me is the true measure of success. It's not about artificial launches, 10K months, 100K months, 7-figure launches, like all these things. If you can't replicate that success in a really sustainable and healthy way, that's not success to me.
Yeah. And whilst those cash injections can be great, actually, you don't want to have this roller coaster of uncertainty and anxiety of an unpredictable launch that we don't know how that's going to go. So yeah, I'm all about the sustainability and growing that month on month. And then the other bit becomes the cherry on the cake almost, if it's going to happen. If you want to do that, there's a lot of people that don't even want to launch as well, which I think is also really valid. You talked a little bit there around linking it back to like energy and your human design and things like that. And I want to go into more of this because I'm really curious. I love hearing more about it. But yeah, I'd love to hear how you kind of start working with your clients to delve into that human design and then almost create that, because I work with people from a strengths basis and very similar, I guess, but we want people to work in that energy. We want people to work in their true strengths, because that's when they're going to flourish. That's when things feel in flow. That's when things get to feel easy as well.
And I do wonder as well, Sarah, just out of curiosity, around that desire to get people working in their element and really playing to their strengths, but that also comes from motherhood. Because I've also realized with my own children, so I've got 5 children, by the way, which is why I'm known as the Queen of Leverage, because I do a lot of other things beside run my business and make the
Yes.
world a better place. But I really leaned into the spiritual element and the other, because I've got lots of modalities. I'm a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, EFT, like all of the things. And I was very much focused on the strategic elements. I'm qualified in pretty much every business strategy going. But for me, it's like, intuitively, I want to tell this client to do this thing, but I know that she's not going to do that because that is not her jam. And I
Yeah.
didn't know how to articulate it. And it's like, I've always been very intuitively led, and I was like, I kind of see it a different way, but I didn't have the language or the framework to understand why that was. Into human design. So essentially it's working with our best self energy. It's how we are meant to show up in the world. So obviously I mentioned that I'm super spiritual, but it's essentially the understanding that as a collective we all bring something new to the table. If we were all exactly the same, doing all the same things and excellent in the same areas, the world would be very one-dimensional. And like I said, with my
And really
children,
boring.
yeah, like it would be very, yeah, absolutely, there would be no magic at all. And when I look at my 5 children, like they are wildly different, which I'm actually finding quite reassuring, because it means that actually the amount that I've had to do with it must be minimal, because they are all very different. So that has massively taken the pressure off. And I'm looking at them and thinking, wow, it's so interesting. Like they're going through the same school system. Literally, we've been with the same school. So like the same dress up days, the same syllabus, the same school trips, the same like residentials, and yet they're so different. So that for me was when I started to lean in with my clients, like this is why it's not feeling right, because I'm seeing this now as my children are getting older. And we're very good when they're young, saying like play to your strengths, like you're not good at sports but you'll be good at this. But when it comes to business, it's like, no, it's this one way, my signature 3-step framework, or you're nothing, you'll never make it in this town. And that didn't feel good to me. So with human design, sorry, there's essentially 5 different energy types. The most common are manifesting generators, manifestors and generators. But I also have quite a few clients that are projectors. So essentially, like manifesting generators and generators, they are people that as long as they are in their energy, in their element, doing what they need, they should be, what they are absolutely lit up by, their energy is magnetic. People naturally lean in, they're curious, they're typically leaders. Like there's kind of different sales and marketing strategies that I use for different energy types, but to put somebody at completely the other end of the spectrum, so they're the people that are kind of would do really well with selling in their stories, documenting their journey, living their best life, and people will naturally want to move in closer. Some of them need to be weighted to be invited. Other people are happy to just make the invitation. So when you see things like DM sales, where it's like, no matter how unsalesy the script is, if your human design is to respond to people that are coming to you, you're never going to be able to implement that strategy successfully, because it goes against who you essentially are meant to be. You're going to find every part of that process ick,
Yeah.
and you are not going to be able to be consistent, and you're not going to be able to convey it in a way that people then feel called to respond, because that's not what you're here to do. And projectors at the other end of the spectrum are people that very much work in cycles. So they are like, they'll get an idea, they'll feel really inspired, they go away, do the thing, but they're not meant to follow that through to execution all the way, forevermore the end. They are just meant to do that initial kind of visionary process, hand it over to somebody else that can then implement. They then actually need a period of rest, because their energy is not recharged by their work. They
Yeah.
don't have that continual battery energy where they can just keep going. I mean, I wonder which energy type you think that I have. Obviously, I'm a manifesting generator. I would literally do this if I was paid or not paid.
Same. I'm a manifesting generator as well.
Yeah. So then obviously the projectors, like, they need to consciously be working in cycles, having like their launch and then maybe a rest period. And it's about looking after their soul, not trying to work outside of that, because it would just be really counterintuitive and quite draining.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's it. Finding that has been really interesting to me. And when I've then used that to create strategies with my clients, they're like, yeah, there's no resistance. You know, mindset, those sorts of things might be something that we need to work on. But essentially it's like, yeah, this feels good.
It's so important, isn't it? And I think it's something that so many people miss, in the sense of, they see the gurus doing, follow this 3-step process that will help you hit the whatever. And essentially there is no cookie cutter approach. There never will be, because we're all different, not just from the human design, the energy perspective, but you've got different lifestyle goals, you've got different family setups, you've got, looking after different children and that kind of thing. That all plays into how you want to run your business, but also how you can run your business as well. And I think you have to take this sort of wider integrated approach to not just what business success looks like, but actually running the actual business of it. Because if you get those two together, the magic then forms, and you have the passion, you feel the joy, but also that's when the flow happens. It just feels so much more aligned, so much easier. If people are curious about human design, what's the easiest way to find out what profile they are?
Oh, literally Google it. Like this, I use a website called myhumandesign.com, and literally just put in your birth date and time, because it's all about like the blueprint that's created at the moment that you were conceived or brought into the world. And it will come up with a profile. Now they'll give you like a vague strategy on that, in terms of how to live your life in your best energy. So again, something that I feel really passionate about is that your business is not separate to you. It doesn't need to be the be all and the end all, but it's about that expression of yourself. When people say they get burnt out and they need balance from their business, to me it's like there's something in there that's not quite right, because
Yeah.
it should be hand in hand, it should be integrated, it should be another element of you. So yeah, so you can do that. Absolutely, go and find it there. If you wanted to find out like an aligned sales strategy, I've actually got a free blog post that goes through the different strategies in terms of sales and marketing on my website, so you could have a look there. Because I think, again, like some people are meant to respond, some people are meant to get into the DMs, be super proactive, some people are meant to lead. So I'm always quite curious actually around the manifestors, because they are the visionary. They are the people that do not follow anybody else's path. Like, they're the trailblazers, the change makers that literally create the most unique offers out there. So I'm always interested by like, oh, what's your human design type? Because it just gives me so much valuable information.
Yeah.
I don't want to insult you with telling you how to serve your clients, because you're already going to know better than I do,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important to lean into it, I think, isn't it? Have that curiosity, have that awareness, and then reflect that back to how you're currently running your business, or maybe the ideas that you're having, and see which ones feel good or not good, because there's normally a reason why. Yeah, so good. Okay, so we've talked a little bit around energy there and actually leaning into that. As you said, you're a mum of 5, like you are a busy, busy lady. How do you leverage your time?
So for me, actually, do you know what? I don't even feel that busy. It sounds crazy, but I think even before I had kids, like, I worked 3 jobs. I didn't need to work 3 jobs, but I just always, I've always just been that person that had lots of energy and wanted to do lots of things. So as a manifesting generator, we're also like the queen of collapsing time, aren't we? Where we can learn something very quickly, master it, and then almost like move on. So I feel like I've had about 20 lifetimes for that reason. So when it comes to business, though, how I leverage my time with that is I just get the most bang for my buck. So I'm super ruthless in terms of, not ruthless sounds quite negative, but I only do the things in my business that need my personal attention and energy. And I'm very conscious with what's going to get me the quickest return.
Yeah.
So I prioritize the income generating activities. I'm not going to waste time, because it wouldn't make sense, and it would obviously negate from my energy doing admin and little bits. And so I've been very conscious with growing a team
Yeah.
that can support me with some of those elements, because manifesting generator, your energy is magnetic. All your people need is you. They need to be seen, heard, held by you. They don't need all the bells and whistles, which we often think they do, and they don't. So yeah, I think I've just been super good at understanding like what do I actually need to do and
Yeah.
what is coming up for me that feels like, oh, but you need to do this, because a lot of the time, because there is an element of mindset, isn't there, in the sense that because, I'm a mum, I used to have a lot of expectations around like my kids need me in servitude, where I am literally, and I am still a little bit like that. I'm not gonna lie. It's a bit of a self-serving though, because they're getting older. So it's like I want to be needed. So I'm like, look, I made you a snack. Like, isn't mommy so great? And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Come back to me.
yeah, um, so, but a lot, yeah, there was a lot of things that came up for me, like with having the kids and stuff. Like, do I need to do all the things? Do I have to be at everything? Do I have to do everything? Do I need to wash every pair of pants? Probably not. I don't think the kids actually care. So again, it's with the kids. It's like, obviously, where I'm also a single parent, it's like I've got to have those adult conversations with them, like in the daytime. And I think as mums, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be almost like super present every day, like having those meaningful conversations and all the things. And the reality is, a lot of the time, the kids don't want that. They want space. Like that, this is their home,
Yeah.
is their safe place. They kind of venture off into the corners, and I'll go in and be like, I just want to have a present moment connecting with you. And they're like, I just want to like be on Genshin Impact and do my thing. Like I've been at school all
Yeah.
day, leave me alone. And I think it was for me again, giving myself permission that actually if I don't, if every day isn't a making memories kind of day, that's okay as long as I've got my touch points, which for me it's the school run, which is a bit of a running joke. So my school run is 3 hours a day. So I've got 5 kids in 4 different settings. So, but what is really
Right.
good is that obviously as a collective, like we have so much fun on the school run anyway, because I'm quite a fun person. For me, when I was in corporate, like the school run was like my holy grail. Like I really wanted to be present for the kids in those moments. And I
Mm.
used to cry on the way to work and not be able to do it. And it just used to break my heart. So now I'm super like, we catch up, we have like, how was your day? Like we're talking about the things coming up, and I feel very much involved in their life. And then obviously as one drops off and then it's just the four, and then you get that better and better quality and one-on-one
Yeah.
time. So I'm like, as long as I've done the school run and we are good, like that is okay actually,
Yeah.
like I've got to take the pressure off myself to be all things and to be everywhere, because there is only so much of me. And then obviously the weekends, like I prioritize the time with them then. And again, they don't want to be with me. So I'm like, should we go to the cinema? Should we do something? And they're like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Oh, bless them. I love it. But I think it is one of those things that it, as children get older, and mums will relate to this, like how they need you is going to evolve. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about a business, that actually how you ran your business last year, 3 years ago, isn't how you need to be running it now as well. And having that almost sense checking that, what does work smarter mean? Being
Yeah.
open to that involvement. What does sustainability look like? You want to have that sustainable business, but how you show up, how you do that still has to feel aligned to you, but it still has to work with how you want to
With how
do
you want to
family
do
life.
family life. Yeah, that's
And I,
that's so true, isn't it? We were talking about seasons earlier,
yeah,
weren't we, just offline, about how like the seasons that we're in, even as ourselves, and women and mothers, and how we want to be supported. Like our coaching containers have evolved. So I'm in a different season of business where I really want that depth of connection. Other times I was like, just tell me what I need to do. And
yeah,
now it's like, I want to feel seen and heard, and let's have a really great conversation, because actually I don't need you to tell me what to do, but just us having a really incredible conversation really activates something in me. Like that's my season right now, where it's like I just want to be around incredible women that are doing incredible things that remind me what's possible and keep me going. That's what
yeah.
I need right now.
And it's so interesting. It's one of the reasons that I started this podcast and had guests on there, because I love having these conversations. And I think there's so much richness that people can take from, I suppose, being part of our conversation and just listening into that, that we all do things differently. And that's brilliant. As you said earlier, it'd be so boring if we were all the same, had the same lens on stuff. But there's always people to work with different people based on what you need and where you need it at that time. Similarly with how you grow your business, like your business gets to evolve as you grow, as you scale, as you want different things. Your goals might change too. And all of that is valid. It's all okay. And I think sometimes because of the world we do live in, not just from the instant gratitude perspective, but also the social media world where we see this lens of what people want to portray, we can feel that if you're working on your own and you're not in a mastermind or you're not in a group setting, that can feel quite hard. It can feel quite overwhelming of the, oh, I should be doing this or I'm not doing that. Why am I not part of that? And that I suppose it's a mix of the sort of shiny object syndrome and FOMO, isn't it? Of actually staying in your lane as to what feels good for you is what's going to create your best success, and then getting the support that you need. And I loved what you said there of like, yeah, I'm busy, but you know what? I get the support. I outsource stuff that doesn't light me up. It goes back to that energy again. And
Yeah.
our time is precious, but we still get to choose how we spend it.
Absolutely. And I think it's so interesting what you were saying as well about the people that maybe aren't as far on in their journey where they can invest in like masterminds and, $1 million networks and all of these things. Actually, do you know what the magic is? Is that you can create it, you can do it for
Yeah.
yourself. That's one of the reasons why I started my mastermind, because for me it was like I needed I'd been through a few programs, and it's like for me there's something missing. Like I'm so old school, like I really am. And I think it's because I literally started business in a market. So I don't know if you know, but like Kingston upon Thames, it's a Royal Borough. They've got a really beautiful like market out the front, like the ancient marketplace. And all day I would be listening to like the guys, and it was like it's just about getting out there, having conversations, like building connections. People are
Mm,
so afraid of that element, and it's like, but it was for me, it was like perfect. Like I just want to talk to people. I just want to get to the like conversation and the connection part, that it's really made me quite old school and nostalgic when it comes to business. Like I think you can have all of the new whizzy automations and all the things, and I love all of that because that helps me to leverage my time. But it's like actually it's about the connections. And I love Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and the
yes, I
real,
love that book.
yeah, the real traditional element of a mastermind is about activating in something in someone else.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen that. And, there was like, oh, yeah, I could be at this inner circle, but I wasn't quite ready to invest. So that's where I created my own. I was like, actually, if this is what I'm witnessing and what I'm craving, there'll be other people that want that too. So
Yeah.
maybe I just need to go fast. And the women that and equally, like regardless of what stage of business you're at, you can always create community wherever you're at, whether it's a free Facebook group, whether it's like you say, just even having the podcast. And we can't negate that because podcasts saved my life like for years, just even taking it back prior to business. I had a super traumatic childhood. I had lots of narcissistic relationships and all the things where I felt very isolated.
Mm,
Books, podcasts, YouTube's, like motivational videos, they literally served me with where I was at that point,
mm,
and literally just made everything so much better. Obviously, as I've then seen what else is out there and everything else, then I've started to lean into investing into those things. But even if you are just starting out in business and you're like, what can I do? Start a free Facebook group. Be the reason that somebody smiles that day. Create your own
yeah.
community. It's your party. You get to do what you want to.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's all so entwined, isn't it? Of actually leaning into what gives you energy, what lights you up, what you need to feel good about yourself. That's what we want from a business. That's what other people want you to do within your business. Is a reason that you set it up, and that's to help people. So we have to do that in a way that feels good for you and for them. Um, what
Not what's
tips do
just going to make you money. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
I think that's
Yeah.
it. That's when it takes it bigger than just, it's not about money. I was doing a session in my mastermind earlier today, actually around relationships and around communication, and that everything comes down to relationships, whether it is the relationship with yourself, the relationship you have with clients, family, friends, whoever that is. All of that's going to have an impact on your business, the results that you're going to create. But actually, it's so much bigger than that, because when you start delving into the relationships, the conversations, the communications, the communities you want to be part of, that takes it more than just about money. And that's when you can start having the real ripple effect from a business perspective as well, I think. But also, you get the true fulfillment from it. So much bigger.
Because that's a reality. What I've realized again is that there is, I don't even know what the expression is. It's like, it sounds so awful, but it's like there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's a
Yeah.
thousand ways that you can make money in your business. There is no need to do anything that doesn't feel good to you, that really does take you so far. I mean, and it's also, we've got to have a bit of perspective with sometimes I get this resistance with clients, and I've actually had to like turn clients away, that because I talk about leverage, and because I've only got 2 days childcare and I managed to have a very successful business on that basis, people assume that there's no work involved, and that if it instantly doesn't feel good, then nope, that wasn't aligned. And it's like, no, we also need to have a bit of a sense check that there will naturally be resistance anytime you do anything
Yeah.
new. There's always going to be, but that's just fear trying to keep you safe. That's your brain doing exactly what it's meant to do, and that's exciting. You get to reframe that. So rather than feeling like this is too much, it's clearly not for me, I'm not going to do that thing. It's like, actually, this is an opportunity for some really exciting growth. So I think you have to find
Mhm.
that balance, but equally know that there is no end of options available to you. So even with clients, like we've created, I've got a client that's a projector. She's a complete introvert. Anytime I mention lives, free masterclasses, any of the things, she is literally like, go away, like never in a million years. I love it though, because I'm like, well, this just got interesting, because now we really have to be creative with the way that we're marketing her business. But also she's a busy property developer, so she's got lots of other things going on. This at the moment is like a souls project, but she's got very real deadlines with like 7 figures on the line. So
Mm.
equally, she needs that flex and ebb and flow with her business, that it's not all consuming. So we've been super intentional with the platforms that she's using. You don't have to be on every platform.
No.
And just because you love Instagram, if your client is not going to be on Instagram, sadly, don't be on Instagram.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to get to love LinkedIn a little bit, and I'm sure once you know it a bit more, you might love it. I hear great things about it. But again, like, it's just doing what she does best. And even like the containers that we've created, we've done boxer support, because she would rather do that than loads of calls every week, because she actually finds that quite draining on her
Yeah.
energy. But whereas some people that I've mentioned that to, they've got the expectation that they need to do these things, because otherwise people won't pay them high ticket. And actually, it's almost the reverse. I'm sure you're the same with your clients, Sarah, in that typically the more people invest, the less they need the hand holding, and it's more, they're already quite self-led to have got to that position. So it's like, actually, they just
Yeah.
want your energy, they just want your guidance. That doesn't need to be every week on a formal Zoom video.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I had that experience when I had a membership, gosh, probably about 2.5 years ago now. And it was, 35, £39 a month. And something just felt so like not aligned for it. People were leaving and I was falling out of love with it. But there was so much amazing content and support and resource in there. And I was getting to the point of over delivering, over giving. And I thought, you know what, there's something in here. It's not the right thing. I'm going to close it. And almost at the same time, I set up my mastermind, which is now, 1,000 plus a month. So very different investment
Yeah,
levels. But what I found is that people left the membership, came into the mastermind, and that's when they started getting the results, because they suddenly realized, and the fire was in the belly in a different way. And now it's like, actually, this is a totally different space. And you're right, the expectation is different. The need that they have is different. And I think, in probably in the last few years, we've seen a lot of low level memberships that have been popping up all over the place, but people aren't getting the results because they are low level memberships for a reason. And I think it's the relationship that you can create at a higher level, the deeper connection, the deeper understanding of the business. But as you say, you don't have to give more. In fact,
yeah,
quite often it's giving less, and it's being there as that
yeah.
hearing supporting place.
Absolutely. And also, the sad thing with the low ticket, as much as it's nice, you have to be quite strategic with how you use low ticket
Yeah.
offers. And this is me kind of like venturing into the masculine now, but even from a self-serving perspective, if you are having these low ticket offers thinking that, oh, at least I get to be accessible and I'm, a good person because I'm not overcharging, actually, from a strategic point of view, you're really doing yourself a disservice, because inevitably the people aren't necessarily empowered or financially able to create the kind of changes that they need
Yeah.
to actually implement some of the things that you're teaching. And that's what I found whenever I've tried to have like low ticket offers, and memberships. And then also what happens is that they stop taking the action. They're not invested in
Yes.
actually doing the work, which means then for you as the kind of leader or facilitator or whatever of that container, it is quite soul destroying. Then when people aren't turning up to calls, but also you can't leverage that. If nobody's getting results, you can't continue to sell it, because nobody's
Mm.
going, free would never be free enough for some people. So
Yep.
even just because it's low
I love
ticket
that.
doesn't mean people are going to buy it. So
Yeah.
especially if you don't have results behind it. So that's the thing. It can be really counterintuitive when you think that you're being humble and being nice and being accessible.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a false economy, because that has got a very short lifespan on
Yeah.
that business model. So again, one of the things that I teach, it's not about just charge high ticket for the sake of it. It's like, with my mastermind, I wanted to increase the price, and I was sat there with it, and I was like, I'm not going to do it because my coach says I can do it. Like, they were literally like, triple it, and I was like, why? Like, I want to increase the price from a place of integrity, because I will not be able to
Yeah.
sell it if I don't believe that it's worth it. So I had to sit there and think, okay, how do I make this worth it? How do I make it
Yeah. And I
this?
think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
It's not
and
just changing the price, and I will
yeah,
caveat that is that the membership is definitely not the I have
yeah,
just increased the price into a
yeah.
mastermind and changed
Oh
the
no,
name of
definitely
it.
no, 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 no,
No, but I think
no.
it is interesting, isn't it, that people just think, oh, I can just triple the price and not actually change what I'm delivering. It has to feel right. You have to be able to get the results. It has to be a justifiable amount for
Yeah.
people to want to invest in it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's the revenues in the reviews, right? So when I
Yeah.
talk about leverage again, it is leveraging yourself, your energy, being in alignment and all the things, but it's also within your business. So it's also the strategic stuff that, like I say, gets the most bang for your buck. So
Mm.
sales and marketing activity, it's the stuff that really does keep you in your zone of genius and requires your personal energy. Outsource, eliminate, or delegate. Eliminate, outsource, and delegate everything else. But also, it's like, once you've got all of this incredible, like, great karma and energy with your clients' results, how do we now leverage that? So
Mm.
all we were just talking about YouTube, weren't we, and all of the great content that you've got, that is like
Yeah.
gold. So how do you leverage that? Well, you get somebody to repurpose it and put it on another platform. But
Yeah.
also, how do you create smart offer suites where people can stay in your world for longer, rather
Mm.
than like, oh, I changed your life, okay, thanks, bye, bye.
Yeah.
It's
And I
like,
think
you
it's
know
the biggest misconception, isn't it?
yeah.
Is about growing your business is that you need new clients.
Yes.
Actually, that's the hardest way to grow your business is to bring in new clients.
Yeah.
You, like the easiest way is to keep people in that space because they already love you, they already know you, they already trust you, you've already got them results. So really, yeah, that leveraging piece is really important. And it's not about taking advantage of people at all. It's about what do they next need? Like what's their next phase of that customer journey that you can then, as the expert, support them through that. You mentioned something earlier that I just wanted to bring back into was around this and sort of leveraging your time and working smarter around marketing in the
Yep.
sense that you don't have to be doing the lives, you don't have to be on all the social media platforms. I read something earlier that someone said, oh, you don't need to have a website. And it's like, you don't need to have a website, but actually it's a brilliant marketing tool for some
Yep.
businesses. And, those ones that are introverted who don't want to do the lives, like where is
Yeah.
your ideal client looking for you or looking for the support that you offer? It comes down to the right message, right timing, and right people. And I think it's not about the shoulds. It's not about this versus that. It's that alignment to you, but also, as you said earlier, that leveraging your time. Like what feels good for you? Because that's when you're going to show up in the best place, but not doing everything. None of us came into
Yeah.
business. I mean, my background's marketing. None of us came into business to be doing marketing.
Yeah.
We're here to serve, we're here to help people. That doesn't mean that you have to be constantly on social media. There's
Yeah.
so many different ways when it comes to marketing. And I love that you kind of touched on that as well. I wanted to bring it back in.
Yeah, well, quite controversially, I actually had a 6 month break from social media, and my business grew by like 40%.
Yeah.
And that was because I've always prioritized relationships. So the amount
Yeah.
of referrals that I got, coming through, I utilized the communities that I'd already created. I kept people in and started creating new offers for the people that were still in my world. But what does the next level look like for them?
Yes.
So, and I do this with clients in that one client just had an academy. The lady kind of graduated, essentially, dropped to like or actually upgraded, sorry, to boxer support because she was going through some projects. And now it's like, okay, she is like such an incredible woman. How do we keep her in your world? Now we've got a mastermind. So it's
Mm.
like just allowing that evolution and that graduation. And I would say, actually, I'm not the best marketer on social media in the sense that, I don't want to be on it 24/7, especially not with children. I really
No.
feel that when I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids, and I don't want to be checking, and I don't want the constant notifications. So another thing that I encourage my clients to do is focus on brand building,
Yeah.
so that you're not the person that's constantly having to go out and be casting the net. People will come to find you if you have a
Yeah.
brand. So when I talk to them about platforms, quite often we're looking at things like Pinterest, podcasts, blog posts, and oh, I was just thinking of another one then, YouTube, sorry. So I'm a big fan of YouTube because it's longevity.
Yeah.
It's longevity of brand. So rather than creating something on Instagram and it's gone within 72 hours, something on you. I've got people that listen to podcasts from 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what the hell was I talking about? And God knows, like so many
Mhm.
evolutions since then. Or they found me on Pinterest, or that just, and these are the ones that don't necessarily come to mind naturally because,
Mhm.
we're not typically taught about these methods, but
Yeah.
it's again, it's getting it so it continues to come back to you, but also, really building those networks so that you
Yeah.
can collaborations, strategic collaborations, affiliates, like all of those incredible things. So people are working on your behalf and your content is working harder for you. That's what leverage is for me, as well as
Yeah.
just like hacks to save time. It's like just everything that you do is gold, and you've got to believe that, right? You've got to believe that everything that you put out there, if only everybody knew this, they would be better off for it, you know. I always say, like, I'm working with women that are here to change the world, because genuinely I believe that, you know. If there was any part of me that's like, I just want to sell like a few business courses, like, do you think that would have the same impact?
Yeah.
No. No.
No. So the big question then around that is that sort of mindset piece. Like when you're busy, when you're in your business, when you're working with all your clients, obviously testimonials are brilliant for a mindset, and supporting that. How do you stay with that kind of rock solid belief, I guess, that you're here to change the world? Like it's amazing. And I think many of us who are in that level of wanting to create impact, and one of the reasons they've set up their business is not about the money, it's about the impact, it's about supporting other people. Mindset is one of those things that has to come really strongly. And of course, we're human, we have those wobbles. What do you do in those moments of wobble?
I think for me, it's one thing I've really cultivated is radical self-awareness. So I know when I am like, girl, stop being a whiny bitch. Like, come on now, let's get some perspective. Like, we, you know, like I say, so perspective is obviously wonderful as well, because
Yeah.
I always think, oh God, this feels a bit hard. Then I'm like, come on now, you used to work like 70 hours a week, never with your kids. That was hard. This is a fucking blog post. You'll be fine. Like, keep it moving.
Yeah.
So I think I always say, like, get a better problem. Like, you're good.
Yes.
But I think as well, for me, one thing that really helped me to get out of my own way was having that bigger connection to why am I doing this? So it's not about me, it's about the woman, and not to be too deep, but the woman that is like, obviously, because I talk a lot around money mindset, as much as business is my jam, for me, it's about, you know, empowering women to be financially independent. That's when you truly live life on your own terms. Because up until that point, I'm not about like, I hate men and, you know, you should have your
Yeah.
own money and all the things. It's about it's because actually I think it's a beautiful thing when you have two couples that are individuals that are really, you know, like the yin and the yang, and really creating this incredible power dynamic, because I believe in the mastermind, right? You know,
Yeah.
our brains are activated by being in relationships and all the things. I think it's incredible. But it's about, in your own right, if you truly take away all of the potential limitations to you living your best life, 99% of those are going to come back down to money. You know, even if you're a mother, it's like, well, even if I had the money, I'd spend it on my kids. That's the reality. Like, so much of my money used to come in and it would just go on the kids, because I would rather give it to them than me.
Yeah.
So for me, oh, sorry, Sarah, I've totally lost my train of thought now. I was thinking about relationships. But I think, yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry, I've totally lost my train of
No, no,
thought.
no. It's good because I think it's those mindset wobbles, isn't it? And actually going
Oh,
back to that real why, as to
yeah, that's
it's
it.
taking it more than just the money. It's taking
Yeah.
it more than, I love that phrase of get a better problem. I'm gonna remember that one.
But
It's
it's so
like,
true, isn't it?
yeah,
Like, and I'm sure because we've been in similar circles, when you see people like, oh, I'm crying, my launch only made like 50K, and I'm like, oh, come on now, like that used to be my salary for a year. Like, let's get some perspective.
yeah,
But equally, that to me, just there's an element of mistrust in yourself, that actually we're resourceful women, we are like unlimited potential. There's
mm,
no, we can keep it moving, and there is no problem that cannot be fixed. So
yeah,
if you believe in that trust in yourself, and sometimes that comes from reminding yourself what a bad bitch you are, you know, like what you've been through. And the reality
yeah,
is, no matter how much trauma, tragedy, hardship, you're still here. Like, you've still got through it, I'm sure, with an element of grace as well. And you've got to remind yourself of that. So for me, it is, you know, essentially reminding myself that it's not about me, and genuinely it's not about me. Even in my
yeah,
mastermind, it's not the Rebecca show. It's not all come and sit at my feet while I regale you with all my wisdom. It's actually about bringing a collective of women together. We can all help each other, but equally it's not about me, it's about them, it's
yeah.
about their results. And that really helps me. So I did an event in January. It was the first one since before COVID, and honestly, I got a moment where I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, da, da, da. And I literally was like, I'd spent so much energy just getting people there. And
Yeah.
like, I'd done the work on the workbooks and everything else, that I had a moment as and it was really unexpected, because it didn't like naturally, like, just start. We were all chatting. I was in flow, like, da, 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 da. And then my BA literally went, okay, and everybody sit down. Let's go, Rebecca, like, cue you, off you go. And I was like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm going to say. Like, hadn't even really thought about it. I just wanted to get everybody here and just have a great time. And I had literally a 2 second wobble where I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say? And then I was like, it's not about what I'm going to say. It's what do
Yeah.
they need to hear? Like,
Yeah.
what do they need right now? And that really helped me get out of my own way. And genuinely, I hadn't done anything in like over 2 years. I was completely out of practice of talking in front of people, and it was really intimidating. And I was like, nope, let's go. It's not about you. What do they need to hear? And I think
It's so
that's a reminder.
interesting. Yeah, I've recently done a few little posts on Instagram actually around like letting go of your own ego,
Yeah,
because yes, it's our own business. Yes, it's probably your own name on that kind of branding, logo, whatever. But it isn't about us. It's about what your audience need. And I think so many people forget this when they have ideas and they're just like, oh, I've had this great idea. I want to go and do this. It's like, let's validate that. Do your audience actually need it? Does your dream client actually want this right now? Because if it's not relevant to them, if it's not something that they really need, or if it's not positioned in a way that gets them
yeah,
think that they might need it. Apple is the classic case. Like no one realized they needed the iPhone until it actually became available, or the
yes,
Apple Watch. Like they're very good in thinking and about or telling you what they think you need. But I think when it comes to the programs and the offers, they've obviously done their market research to see this is going to be changing for this consumer. Like that's driven by what the clients need, what the consumers need, your audience needs. And I think sometimes we are led by ego. And I don't mean that in an unkind way. I think ego has a kind of negativity associated with it. But actually, remember what you're doing your business for. Like it's your why for the bigger piece, but also you're here to serve. You're here to support people in that. And I think that's when the magic happens in those group programs, like the masterminds and things, the real connection, the community, because you've heard people, you're giving them something that they actually do need, that's going to help them on their journey, whatever industry that's in. And I think that's really valuable to remember. I have clients that are like, oh, I'm not making sales and I need to come and do this, or it's something there. And I'm like, are you talking to your ideal client? Like, do they actually need this? Is your messaging landing with them? And
yeah,
they're like, yeah, but the product's great, or the program's great. And I'm like, it is, but there's some kind of disconnect.
yeah.
So if it's not selling, there's a disconnect. And what is that disconnect? Either you don't love it or they don't love it. And
Yeah.
there's something in
And
there.
and sometimes it is positioning, like you say, where it's like you almost need to give them what they want, but actually
Mhm.
deliver what they need.
Yes.
Because ultimately it's that part. So as much as you might, I get this a lot with clients where it's like, oh, I do this modality, and they talk so much in the language. And I'm like, does your ideal client even know what any of that means?
Yeah.
Like I think even like I know we're in the personal development space, but you've even lost me a little bit here.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and it could be just those subtle tweaks
Yeah.
that really make all the difference.
Definitely. Definitely. And it goes back to, I think I talk about, ask the question, so what, a lot. Like you can put that out there, but so what? Like, what does that actually enable the client to do? What does that actually enable them to do that means something to them? Because if we can't answer that, we're not going to create the emotional connection. And then it feels hard. That's when marketing starts feeling hard. That's when our time starts feeling that it's not being leveraged, because it feels like we're in this hustle and no one wants to be in that space. From a kind of, I guess, I mean, you've evolved, your business has evolved a lot over the last kind of few years, really, hasn't it? From, as you say, from a barbershop all the way to kind of moving into the online space, navigating children, navigating life in general. What's been your biggest kind of shift, I suppose, in taking you to that next level that has allowed you to leverage all of the things that we've spoken about?
I think it is playing the long game. Like that's
Mhm.
the thing. I've had very determined seasons of my business. Like obviously my baby is she's only a year old. So she's coming up for 2 in August. And I think there was a lot of frustration in me feeling like I was sitting out, like sitting on the timeout bench where I had all of the desire and all of the energy to go, but I was like obviously I couldn't physically do it. I was breastfeeding, small baby, 5 kids, like all the things. And there were certain things that I needed to like hold back on, say no to. And I definitely think there was also a lot of healing and a little bit of obviously, splitting with my partner, there was a lot of trauma around that energy. So it's like I had 1 year where it was essentially like playing small, like and I was in survival mode essentially, and I have to be honest with that, and just kind of maintaining and all of those things, but knowing that at some point, like give me a year, give me some sleep, give me some like
Yeah.
more energy, I am coming back stronger than ever. And I think it is a lot of people are not willing to play the long game. And then
Yeah.
the next year was almost like me finding myself, reconnecting, like starting to rebuild that trust with myself, putting myself out there, having grace and compassion that I still had a young family and everything else. And then I just joked on my Instagram this week about how the 1st of May was my new financial year. And I said, like, this season is like, let's go, bitch. Because it is. And the opportunities that have come to me in the last few weeks. I mean, I'm going to America to be interviewed on Fox News at the end of the year.
Amazing.
Like, that's how you seemingly collapse time, but it's like, actually no, this is me being intentional for the last 9 years, that
Yes.
every person that comes across me will have a positive interaction, that
Mm.
even if I can't sell them something, or I can't help them in any way, I'll refer them on to somebody that can.
Yeah.
It's being that champion and cheerleader of women regardless of the
Yeah.
return on investment. For me, it's continuing to invest in yourself, even when I signed up for a mastermind for when the baby was 5 weeks old, and I'd signed up for that program 6 months prior, because I knew when she's here and I'm alone, I'm going to need some mentorship. I'm going to need
Yeah.
somewhere to go where I can be supported. And my priority when my baby's 5 weeks old might not be my business, but at least if I'm just in community of women, I'm going to have somewhat of a foot still in that
Yeah.
world and that semblance of who I am as a person. And I
Yeah,
signed
that's
up
the
for that.
support in a
I
different
signed
way.
up for that program 6 months in advance, and then and literally, like, the first mastermind session, I had to stay at home, so I was still, obviously she was only 5 weeks old, so I was breastfeeding and running up and down the stairs, but I was like, no, I still need to commit to myself, because I knew if I can keep this going somewhat, albeit not full out, foot on the gas, all the things, but I can somewhat still be in the game, then whenever everything returns and life settles and I feel ready, I can go all in. And that's essentially what I'm doing this year. And also no more babies, so I'm good.
I love it.
She
Uh,
says. I
yeah.
think I said that after the last one.
Well, quote unquote that one. I think it's so interesting because I think as you grow, as you scale, you can not lose your identity, especially if you've got children and things like that. But I think coming back to this why, coming back to this real self-awareness, like having that honest check-in with yourself, not just so that you understand what support you need or where you want to go and grow, but that allows you to believe, that allows you to have that inner self-belief that, as you say, that grace, that all this, the feminine parts of everything that are so important as female business owners, but also that trust. I think trust is one of those really big things. Like, this isn't about overnight success. It's not about, there's no such thing as overnight success, because every single person who claims it has done something. They've all had a journey of some kind of experience, even if it's not in business, to get them to where they have done. It's just that in that moment of time has created that moment for whatever their version of success looks like. And I think it is that trust, it's that sustainability that is just, I don't know, we have almost lost it, I think. But I think people are becoming more aware of it and more into that, or leaning into that as well, much more, of going, do you know what? I am in it for the long haul. And that means I need to make the long-term decisions as well as the short-term decisions, and kind of reverse engineer that, rather than I'm gutted because I didn't have that 50K launch, or I'm gutted
Yeah.
because this didn't happen. Like, celebrate all of those things, because they are learning experiences, and you'll do it differently next time, or you'll maybe change your business model so you're not relying on that
Yeah.
cash injection.
Reoccurring revenue.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my goodness.
you get
The
out of
game
bed in the morning with
changer.
a whole new vibe, don't you?
Yeah, it is the game changer.
Yeah, and it's anchoring into those mini milestones and little wins that really help to build up that trust. That's the reality. Like, we're trained and conditioned. Although, let's call the elephant out in the room, 90% of the people that are getting those big numbers are men who have no, like, cycles or necessarily family commitments to work around. I know me when I was in corporate before kids, like, I was an animal. I was a man, essentially.
Yeah.
I'd be working weekends, evenings, doing all the things. Me in this season of life is very different, nor would I want it. Like, got a lot else going on, so I wouldn't want that anyway. But it's about, yeah, it's just all of those things that you just said. That's how you build trust in yourself,
Yeah.
is by anchoring into those moments and acknowledging them for what they are.
Yeah.
And equally, a lot of the time, like I say to my clients, like, most energy types, it's like, document the journey. Even if it's like, I said I was going to drink water every day, like more water every day this week, and I did it, like, celebrate that. You're continually building authority with your own subconscious brain when you do that.
Yeah.
You're recognizing what a badass you are, and you're making the path to your next level goal, like, you're lessening the resistance, because
Yeah.
it's realizing it's safe for me to have a little bit more, it's safe for me to want a little bit more. But also, I'm so grateful for the journey. Like, I have to say, even though I essentially sat on the timeout chair for like 18 months, I'm a better person, I'm a better coach, I'm a better woman. I'm more seasoned in all areas
Mm.
because of it, because I've had that time. And it's
Yeah.
quite interesting. So we've got a mutual friend, Laura, that I coached at different stages of my career. And right at the beginning, like I was very much teaching an XYZ approach to business, where it was like, this is what I've been told, this is what you need to do,
Mm,
like da 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 da. We worked again like another couple of years later, and it was like next level. And it's like, yeah, come work with me now. Like I'm even
yeah,
more next level. And I'm so respectful of that. So when there is that sense of urgency around time, and I do ever catch myself in the moment where I'm like, oh, why not now? Why is it not working? I'm like, it means that it's getting better and better. Like it all
yeah.
works out in your favor, it all adds up in your favor. So it means something else even better is coming.
I love that. And that's the true, I guess, definition of that sustainability, isn't it? It's the evolving, it's being open to change, it's having that reflection, that self-awareness, which again just brings us right back to where we started around leveraging your time, your energy, and your money, and investing on the things that actually are going to make a difference to you, to your business, and to everything around you. Oh my goodness, I've loved our conversation. We've gone into so many different things. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really, really good to catch up with you. And where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
So my favorite home is Instagram, obviously, the femalepreneur coach. But generally, I'm probably on 99% of the platforms, I think. I'm even on a new one called Clapper. Don't know if you've heard of
Ah,
that.
yes, I have done. I'm limiting that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry. It's a very interesting place right now.
I love
um,
it.
yeah, but absolutely, and I would love to encourage the women that are listening to go and look at that blog post, because generally, when I leaned into my human design type, and I thought all of the things that I had felt like was a perceived failure, like God, why can't I? Why am I not good at this? Why can't I be consistent? Actually, it's just I'm a manifesting generator. I'm not meant to be. I think it will give you a lot of clarity and practical tips. So I'll send the link to Sarah. Maybe she can pass it on. But
Amazing. Yeah, we'll put
thank
it
you
into the
so
show
much.
notes.
Thank you.
So good to have you on the show. I hope you have enjoyed listening to the Healthy Business Podcast today. I will be back on the next episode. In the meantime, I would love it if you can leave us some feedback. Let us know your biggest takeaway from today's session with Rebecca. Leave us a review or tag us. That would be amazing. And feel free to share it. There's so much gold in this. I would love for you to spread the word to other female business owners who need to hear this right now. I will see you very soon.